This week, we're going to mix ultramarine blue, PB29. I'm using Daniel Smith today. And let's mix that with PB19. Now, the PB19 that I am using is also Daniel Smith Quinacridone Rose. We're going to mix those two together. Some of my ultramarine. Let's start adding in some of our Quinacridone Rose. Right? You see here, when we do more ultramarine than rose, we get this really beautiful purple. Let's go with a little bit more. Ready? I think this is a beautiful color. I'm going to let this dry to show you. But if you really love this color, you can mix it. And you can get different variations depending on how much blue you put versus how much Quinacridone Rose you put. But if you really love the color, you can purchase this from Daniel Smith in a convenience color, and it's called Rose of Ultramarine. Let me show you what that looks like, because I do have it on my palette. This is Daniel Smith's Rose of Ultramarine. So you see, we came pretty close in our mix. So if you like the color, you can mix your own, or you can purchase it as a convenience color. So I will let those two dry. And you can tell me, do you like the pre-mixed version or do you like our mix? And this came from mixing a warm blue with a cooler red. I think it's really important to let this mixture dry on its own. The magic of watercolor. I used my mix in a very wet wash and let this dry naturally. Let me just bring it a little closer so you can see. Look at how much, this is the cellulose paper. Look at how much, where as it dried and this side was much wetter, that Quinacridone Rose like pushed to the edge of that bloom. And look at how the ultramarine, it just floats on top. And you get a lot of the Quinacridone Rose like settles down lower into the paper. I think this is a really interesting mix. I love this one. Let's look at the original swatch. And you'll see here, even on the mixture where it was more ultramarine than Quinacridone Rose, you can still see that ultramarine kind of just like floating on the top. It like just sits there. It really stands out, especially like see right here, like with the granulation from the ultramarine. And then look here in our mix where we went with more Quinacridone Rose. See how the rose kind of settles in and that ultramarine just looks like it pops up on the surface. It's glowing. I really like this one. And then the Daniel Smith's Rose of Ultramarine is such an amazing color. Again, you can see the Quinacridone Rose has pushed to the edges of the wash. And you get that really dark edge with the Quinacridone Rose. But look at that ultramarine just kind of separating and doing its thing in there. This is such an interesting mix. I hope you're enjoying these Monday mixes. If you are, please hit that thumbs up. And if you want to see more, maybe consider subscribing to the channel. We would love to have you. I'm going to mix these one more time so that you can see with different brands, things can look a little different. So to start with, again, we have our ultramarine blue PB29. This time I'm using the Meeden watercolors that we've been using the month of February. These were from my first curated collection. All the information is in the description below. If you haven't gotten yours yet, there's still time to do that. In fact, we're going to be finishing up a project with these live on Thursday. So our ultramarine blue, and I'm going to put a little bit of that on my palette right here. And then we have our PB29, which Meeden just calls it rose. And that is right here. Okay, so just like last time, I'm going to mix a little bit more, or leave a little bit more ultramarine first, so that you can see we can mix like a beautiful, purple. Slide that up for you. And then we're going to add a little bit more, just like last time, to create our rose of ultramarine color. Now, Daniel Smith colors definitely, their ultramarine definitely granulates a lot more than the Meeden does. So I'm really curious to see how the mix plays as we let it dry naturally. Just going to drop in more pigment. It's a nice wet wash. And again, you know, this is not precise as far as like measured amounts of one pigment versus the other. Our colors might be slightly off, but I think you'll get a good idea from looking at one versus the other, how they turn out. And again, I can put a little swatch of the Daniel Smith's Rose of Ultramarine to compare. This would be the Daniel Smith Rose of Ultramarine. You see, that definitely has a bit more rose in it than I put in my mix this time, but that's okay. I'm looking at my color here as I'm adding, try to get a little bit closer. I'll just do one more up here. We can try to see. Did I get closer this time? And Daniel Smith lists theirs as PB29 and then PB19. So they say there's more ultramarine than quinacridone rose in the mix. I don't know. You guys have to tell me, what do you think? I'm just going to let that dry on its own, and we will take a look at them together. Now that our colors have dried, again, on the Daniel Smith Rose of Ultramarine, we really see this separation where that quinacridone rose kind of pushes to the edge of the wash. We have these beautiful pink hues that settle down, and our ultramarine just kind of floats to the surface and really shines and puts on a show. With the same PB29 and PB19 in the Meeden colors, look at how much we have very minimal granulation happening here. And as to the separation, I mean, we can see some of that rose pushing to the edge of the wash there in the top one where I added more of the PB19. And even on some of the edges here where this side was a little wetter. But all in all, we don't have the separation like we do in the Daniel Smith if we compare them side by side. There's much more separation happening here And is one better than the other? No, that's just a matter of your preference. If you like to create some mixes that will give you a little bit of separation and texture and variation in your painting without, just kind of does it on its own. So without even trying, then some of these mixes would be really good. How about your mixes? What brands did you mix your PB29 and PV19? And how did they turn out? Did you enjoy the more ultramarine versus Quin Rose, or more Quin Rose versus ultramarine? What was your favorite? Definitely drop me a comment and let me know. There are two for this week. And again, this is Daniel Smith and this is Meeden. Now with the Meeden, the colors, they just don't separate as much. They kind of stay together. That might be exactly what you're looking for. If you're doing a floral and you just really love this color, maybe you're painting a pansy and that's the perfect color for it. I don't know. You tell me, drop me a comment below. What could you see yourself using this mixture for in your paintings? Maybe it's florals. Maybe it's something else that I'm not even thinking of. I can't wait to chat about it in the comments with you. I hope that you have enjoyed this week's mix. I'll pop another video up right about here that you might like to watch next. I hope you're going to give this one a try and drop me a comment. Let me know, what brand did you use? How did you like the mix? And what could you see yourself using it for? We'll chat down below. Until next time, my friends, keep creating, and I'll see you in a video real soon.